What's up, it's Silly City back with another episode of HWY Behind The Recordz. So this is probably the last video here from St. Gallen because this is my last night here in the flats, and yeah, I just wanted to capture like this last vibe of it, and especially with the Unfinished Beatz Vol.I, since like the first 11 beats that I already pre-produced were made pretty much like this, like on this couch, just like with the Syntakt and the mixer. And yeah, I just wanted to capture this whole thing before I'm gonna leave this space. So last week I talked a little bit about the tracks that we did last year, and yeah, they were all fun and chill, but it wasn't really like a workflow that I really enjoyed, or like I already told, like the whole Ableton thing was kind of annoying. So I thought of like different ways to do this, because I knew I still wanted to do like weekly tracks, but like the whole process in Ableton, like a track a week, it's like, for me it's really exhausting, you know? And then I just thought of ways to level up producing so it would be easier or quicker otherwise. And then yeah, I just started doing daily beats, I think back in October or something. And back then I did a beat each day, and I had like the MPCs and all that stuff, and I just tried different kits that I had, and I think at some point I just started like a sesh where I just did some trap beats to get into that whole vibe. With the keys, like I started playing a little bit more melodies. Yeah, so that was fun, but yeah, I never really thought I could do a whole track just out of this. Like I thought I could record the bits and then structure the whole thing in Ableton and yeah, do a track like that, but just make like the whole coming up with an idea, or like the bass melody that's at the core. Like I just want to make this as easy as possible, and then the structuring part, like this was for me like the more tedious work, and just like make this easier and not like having to do the creative stuff in Ableton, because sometimes I feel a little bit creatively limited by Ableton. And that's just me. I know a lot of other people, like they get so creative in Ableton and stuff they can do, or like other DAWs. But yeah, for me it's more like I feel when I can play like the instruments, like yeah, more interact with the music instead like just with an interface. And yeah, but everybody has their own preferences. The Unfinished Beatz Vol.I are so far all beats from like one device, the Syntakt. And this was a device that was suggested to me by a friend of Ash that was also like doing a lot of like live beats. He had like different devices. He has like a whole analog rack, which is like crazy. And yeah, I just asked him like what would be nice to produce techno, because he was doing a lot of techno. And like I started getting into the 140 vibes more, and especially in like DJing, or like DJing in a club at like prime time or like after hours. I think like techno is the best kind of music, and I always had like issues producing techno tracks. And like since he was using devices, I asked him a lot, and like he suggested to me like the Syntakt from Elektron, and it's a really nice device. Like I didn't understand it at all in the beginning, but I watched some videos and it has a really nice workflow, and for me workflow is like really important. And like the friend of Ash, like he seemed like similar in the whole style of approach to music like me, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna give it a try. And yeah, I don't know, in the beginning I didn't really do so much on it, and back then when I did like the daily beats, it was more about also efficiency, you know, like doing a beat every day. Like it's not as hard as doing a song every day, but still like it takes like an hour in the beginning, and then after a while you get into like 15 minutes, or like I just did a beat while I was like eating or like cooking something. But yeah, in the beginning it took some more time, and like I just wanted to get to know the devices like I already used a little bit or was more familiar with. And like the whole Syntakt was like too big of like enigma still back then. But yeah, it was still around. In like December, I started a new job as a teaching assistant at the like primary school. And then I had to use the public transport a lot, because the job was in Lucerne, but I was still living in St. Gallen, and this is like a 2-hour train ride at least. And yeah, so I didn't have that much time on those 2 days that I was working to do like the whole beats. At this point I started like taking a whole day and like recreating the beats that I missed. Like if I didn't do a beat for like 3 days, I just created 3 beats at one day. And then I thought like, okay, if I have now more time to engage with the beats and the device, I could switch to the Syntakt. And since then I also like met up with like S friend 1 or 2 times to play a little bit around with the Syntakt, and he showed me like how he used it and everything, so I could learn a little bit from that. And yeah, then I was like, okay, let's go figure this out. And yeah, I don't know, I really felt the workflow. And the friend also showed me like some ways to like create tracks out of a single beat. And I think I also watched some YouTube videos, and yeah, after a time I felt confident to like do that and record things like that. And not only I felt confident, it was also the whole pressure thing. Like I already said, like back in December I started using the Syntakt, and I was like, okay, I need tracks now. And I didn't have that much time because like I procrastinated a lot, and the whole planning of like the whole moving out thing. So yeah, it was a little bit stressful, and was like, yeah, I can't do like whole tracks until like, yeah, next month, at the start of the new year when the winter break was over. And then I was just like, okay, this has to work somehow. And yeah, I think I made it work after some beats, and yeah, the results are already like online, available for free download. Yeah, let me know what you think about them, and try to improve everything. And yeah, here in this video I'm gonna show you how this whole process is. So I'm gonna create a basic beat on the Syntakt first, and then like record it into the Ableton, and that's gonna be the track. So just one more thing before we start. The beats that I did, like those weren't the first beats. So I think basically the beat that I'm gonna do right now is one that like it's still from Christmas, the whole Christmas time I didn't do a beat. So I think after the video I'm gonna do like 5-6 more beats to recap the whole thing. But yeah, this also means I'm a little bit rusty, so probably it's not the best beat ever, but yeah, it's gonna be what it's gonna be. And I wanted to do the first beat because it's gonna be, like if everything works out fine, it's gonna be the 12th track of the Unfinished Beatz Vol.I. So yeah, it's quite soonish, you know. I didn't want to do like a beat that's gonna be like 3 months after this video is gonna be ready. Yeah, so that's about that. So I think this is probably beat number like 97 or something. I don't know exactly. And yeah, the first beats of the Unfinished Beatz Vol.I were probably like 87 or something. Because also the naming, like naming is always like it's the least and also most important thing, if you know what I mean. Like it doesn't have to make sense, but it's good if it kind of is sticky, or like people like can remember it, you know. To brainstorm the names, I did like a prompt into GPT, and out of that I got the idea that I just see what were the top 3 movies that were released in the year of the number of the beat. So for example, like beat number 97 was like one of the best movies was like Good Will Hunting, and I was like, okay, how can I switch this up into something rave related, and it's like Good Will Raving, and that's basically for all names so far. I have to see, like I can't just go there until like beat 124 or something, and then we have to come up with a new name concept. But yeah, gonna be fun and a problem for future silly. Alright, I think all the yapping is done, so we can go into creating the beat. I'm gonna record the mixer with the phone, so I can just like play the sounds clean, because I think if I just record it with the phone, it's not gonna sound that good. So let me set it up quickly. So I'm just gonna show you a little bit my process and everything, and like you can copy it and try to copy it like whatever. I don't really care, because in the end you can't really copy a style of something, and like you just have to put in the hours and the reps to get to know the device and like how you like the sonics and everything. So yeah, take this as inspiration, and yeah, I'm just gonna start. I'm also sorry, like I don't have like a camera to make overhead thing of everything I press. It's because yeah, I didn't have the time and like the gear and the equipment to set everything up like that. Like the idea would be to do something like that at a later point. But yeah, for now it's like just this angle and me like explaining a bit and hopefully doing the post-production, so it's a little bit interesting. So yeah, let's go. So the first and most important thing, especially for the Unfinished Beatz Volume 1, is like we switch the BPMs to 140. So I'm gonna explain sometimes a little bit some things about the device, but I'm not gonna go into much detail because yeah, that's probably another video, also like with better overhead camera and stuff like that, so you can see it a little bit more. But the setup of the device is basically that you have 12 tracks and each track has like one sound, one noise. And the first is basically always the kick. And yeah, that's the thing I'm gonna start with. And the good thing, or the really nice thing about the workflow of this device, is that you can easily program like the rhythm in it. I can just press here and then I have like the 4 to the floor beat. Yeah, that's already nice. And then I can just press other buttons and like then yeah, it adds in there. And the really nice thing, what really helps making a little bit more creative beats, is that you can press on like one thing and then make that it's just every second iteration. You know? And then like most of the time I just start playing a little bit around, triggering at different times, like this 4 and this like every 8. Then with just one track you already have some kind of variation in it. When I have the bass pattern or like the bass kick, I go into the machine and here it's like each sound that you can make has different machines. Like this kick is one machine, then you have a machine for like hi-hats or claps, and like some have like more machines, some noises. And then you have like options to tune it around a little bit, and like I'm just gonna play here around a little bit and you can hear. And this is also the process how I do it. Like I don't know what I'm gonna do, like I just play around until it sounds like something I wanna pursue. That sounds kind of nice. Another thing you can do is like filter, and it's basically like the EQ8 in Ableton. You can just, it's just a little bit more limited. You can like, yeah, make low cuts and then also amp up the frequency. And yeah. Something like that. I mean, you can play around way more, but like I'm just gonna limit a little bit out of time reasons, so the video isn't too long, and like I think it's not that interesting if you can't really see everything. So yeah. Another thing you can do is like add some delay and reverb. But this is for me more like things to play around for like during the live recording, to add some more like variation into the bass beat. So I'm gonna just reset it. And one last thing you can do is like add LFOs, but I'm gonna get into that like in the next thing with the snare drums. So next we're gonna go to the snare drum, and usually the snare drum sounds good if it's like in between the kicks. And for that I go to the track where the snare drum is, go to where I can put in the pattern and just, you know, there's already some kind of swing to it. I'm gonna make it a little bit more quiet, and this is like basically all the mixing and most of the mastering I do for the track in the end. Once again, I'm gonna play around a little bit with the sounds, and yeah, you can just hear what I do. it works, but I know what to press to affect the sonics in a way that I want. So what I'm gonna do is add again like the filter. In here I can set like where the frequency is, where the filter hits, and also like the resonance. And in the LFO I can select that like the frequency just shifts a little bit randomly. So here every snare sounds a little bit different, and it's just through this LFO. Like this last snare, I don't want to sound it like this every time. So what I'm gonna do is like I copy this pattern here, or this specific note, and paste it one later, and like just make this again a normal one, and then the one that's modified, I'm just gonna play this like in every second run. Yeah. Another thing that adds variation besides just LFO is the velocity, like how loud the noise is. So I can just change it on the snares a bit, and I could also like switch up the micro timing a bit, so it's not everything like exactly on beat, you know. So here I think I'm gonna just add a little bit delay and reverb, yeah, just to make it a little bit more ambient. Alright, so I just added a little bit more complexity to the snares, like just some more like triggers to play it every second 4 or 8 iteration to make it a little bit, yeah, more diverse. And I also like added a clap. It's basically the same process as with the snare, and yeah, I just muted it. I'm gonna unmute it so you hear what it sounds like. Like I added some delay and reverb, so it's a little bit like dampened. Yeah, it's just like the bass beat. And to like finish this up, we gonna add some hi-hats. So with the hi-hats, basically we do a similar process. Like I'm just gonna add some in first. Now that I hear it, I can just play around with the sound. So yeah, I think that sounds nice. Just to like again add a little bit more variation, like I'm just gonna add some more yeah, points in here, and then like make some conditioning on it that they just play every second, fourth, or whatsoever. So since this is the first time that I'm like doing such a recording and trying everything out, I don't know how good you're gonna hear like my voice and everything, because like I still want to be able to hear and like feel the beat a little bit, so it has to be at a certain noise. Yeah, but it is what it is. We will see. So before we go to the one of the final parts of like the bass beat, which is the synth, we just gonna use one more layer, and this is basically an analog kick. So all the tracks in the upper row, the 8 tracks, are all digital, and like the lower ones, the 4 are analog. And yeah, I like to have like a second kick just to be able to like build up a little bit and have like a little bit more volume for like a second drop or something. So yeah, we're just gonna do that similar as like with the others. I'll go to the track, and I just put one on 5, 9 and 13, like the basic 4 to the floor, and then just play a little bit with the device, and then you already hear like, yeah, it's a little bit more. So I'm gonna remove it again. I mean, it makes a difference, and I'm also from the first kick just gonna enhance the volume a little bit. So the thing that gives the most variation, in my opinion, in the Unfinished Beatz is the synths and like all those noises, because the drums, I mean, it's 140 and most of the times it's kind of a similar pattern. Like I try to switch it up, but like there are only so many options. So I try to like make different sonics, and especially in the synths. And yeah, I don't know, sometimes I add like 2 synths. I think for this I'm just gonna add 1, because yeah, it's already much work to like record and edit everything, and I still have to like live record it in. So yeah, that's that. So when I go to the machines, I have like more sounds. Like I have this one, then this one, this, and this one. And yeah, basically you can play around with those and make them sound so much more different than they sound now. So to be honest, I never really know which one to use and which one fits, so I'm just gonna use one. Let's just go with this one. And yeah, like first I just put one here so I can hear how it sounds, and then like play a little bit around. Like I'm gonna enhance the length of it. Sound, like I just switched it up and like the little bit in the modulation and like how it sounds. So yeah, it already sounds nice. But I think I still need to like add another synth. Like I think just like that it's a little bit boring, and that was quite quick. I don't know. So yeah, I think we're just gonna add this noise and yes. So yeah, I think that like has to work out. So basically how I record the live track then is I mute or unmute certain tracks. So most of the times like I just start with a head or a kick and then like add the drums first, then at the second point come in with like the whole synths and the noises there. and if the noises are in there or the sounds, like I can play with them. Like before, when I created the noises and the sounds, like I could just play around with the knobs and it's changed how it sounded, and basically that's also what I'm doing like during the live mix. This can be nice because it's like, it's sounds you usually wouldn't hear in a track. And yeah, but it also sometimes can fuck it up a little bit. So I hope like this is gonna work good and not gonna fuck it up like in the first couple of recordings, and I'm not here recording for like another half hour or something. Another layer of like variation and uniqueness to the tracks and the live recordings is basically the mixer. The mixer has two kind of effects built in on how you can manipulate like the sound input. And that's what I'm gonna use to also play around like with the basic beat. Last night I was also recording some Padawan sets, and it got to a point where I didn't really knew the tracks, but I knew when I had like a basic for loop that has not too many noises, I could make a kind of a transition no matter what. Because you can use certain functions of the mixer to just like make some parts a little bit less noisy. Also it's easy to just like remove the bass and then make some delay or something, and then come in with the bass of the second track, and then you basically have a drop or a transition with like basic beats. And this is also like the kind of style I'm trying to use here, and like remove the kicks, like do some effects and then come in with the kicks. Yeah, but I'm not gonna talk too long about it. Like, I think I'm just gonna quickly try out the different sounds and like where they are to come up with a bass structure or something. Then like real quick gonna record this in, and then yeah, hope everything works out. I think that's enough preparation. I'm gonna take a sip of water and yeah, let's go. Yeah, so here on my laptop I just have Ableton open and an empty audio track, and I have the mixer or like any audio interface. You can connect it and then you can record in the audio from the device here. Yeah, basically the only other important thing is that you match the BPM. So if I have 140 BPMs here on the device, I also have to have 140 BPMs in Ableton while I record it. And then yeah, just like as normal, press record, and yeah, here we go. So yeah, I think I fucked up a little bit in the beginning because I didn't know really the beat, and to be honest, like the mixer settings, like I didn't prepare them, so I had to do them while I was playing the beat. And usually the idea would be that I have like the beat ready and like here also everything ready. But yeah, to be honest, like I'm a little bit too lazy to record everything, and I think in the end it got really nice. And since I have it here like recorded, I can still edit in post-production, so like I can cut a little bit like in the beginning, or like if I feel like sometimes I was too busy like just with the mixer and the track doesn't change, like I could cut it up. But I try to not do that too much, especially I try to not like cut it in between, so I just gonna cut in the beginning or in the end, because sometimes it's difficult to like end like just with a beat without like just removing everything. And I constantly try out new things, and sometimes it is what it is, and the idea is to create unique and different sounds. I think in the beginning it was a little bit difficult to imagine like how everything would unfold, and I just like started playing something. And most of the time, like the issue if I use like the mixer and the device, it's just like you only have two hands, and like I'm doing here two effects, but I have to put in the kicks here, so it's sometimes always a little bit delayed, or you have to keep in some effects, and sometimes sound good, sometimes sound not so good. Like I already mentioned in an earlier video, at some point maybe I can just like make a whole set just with those beats and play around. And this is like a different type of set. Like I know the most people associate like DJs with like DJ sets that are like headliners or like main acts. But for me also, like part of DJing is like just vibing to music for a long time without getting bored, you know? Like it has to be repetitive in a way so your body and mind can get used to the whole beat and vibe to it. And it shouldn't switch that much, but again, it has to change a little bit so it's not the same. And I think this is something that I could reach in such a way. For now I just like have some tracks And yeah, as always, this track will be available on SoundCloud, also as free download, probably in a couple of weeks. I don't know the whole schedule right now. Like I said, I'm pre-producing. So yeah, that's how I basically do the Unfinished Beatz. The only thing I do after those steps that I just showed you is basically, yeah, edit the beginning, the end, then add the track to the music video, which is a basic template. I just have to change the track and the name that is put in there. And yeah, then create all like the social media posts and like schedule it on YouTube and SoundCloud. The last additional thing, if I want to do a free download, is basically that I put the track into a record box. So I can just change the details, like the name of the track, the artist, record label, and like the artwork and all of that. So yeah, that is that. For now, I think if you download the tracks, they still have the name that I gave them, and that's basically the number of the Unfinished Beatz and the number of beat in the whole journey of the Beats Every Day that I did. Yeah, so that's just a little bit of side info. As soon as you put it into record box or something, it should show like the real name. So there we have another episode of Behind the Recordz, the last episode for now here in St. Gallen. Yeah, I don't know, I'm a little bit nostalgic about the flat because I was here for quite some time and a lot of memories. Yeah, I mean at this point, thanks for everybody that was here at the home party or just chilling, vibing, and all the memories. Yeah, it's gonna be one of the core memories or something I'm gonna remember for a long time. So yeah, was nice, and that's it for now from St. Gallen. Thanks for watching this week's episode of Behind the Recordz. We will be back next week. I don't know right now what exactly the content's gonna be because I first have to like edit a little bit those videos, and for the next videos I intend to like structure them a little bit better so they're not that long and a little bit more, yeah, planned and structured. Until now it was more about just giving context, yeah, me reminiscing and talking a little bit about everything that happened up until now. And yeah, for the future videos I'm gonna see that it's a little bit more like specific. One thing I want to do is about like finding a music genre that like fits you and that you can like, and how you can explore this in this whole process. And another thing that I want to talk about is like the whole organizational process. So yeah, how much everything like behind the scenes is. And in that context, especially like why I did the winter break, like why we didn't post anything in December, what the whole idea was behind that. Yeah, but I have to see, this is something that Future Silly knows. For now, I just like pre-produce as much as I can and could. And yeah, so we will see each other when I'm back in central Switzerland with like new background and everything. So yeah, until then, stay healthy. I hope we started well into the new year. I think by now it's probably already February, so yeah, hope it's still going well. And yeah, stay healthy, take care of yourself, and yeah, we're gonna see each other. Bye!